In this video, we're finally going to be ranking every piece of common equipment in Clash of Clans and then giving you an upgrade guide for the best ones afterward. I'm also going to have all of my charts and notes available for you guys in the description afterward, so make sure to check that out if you want. This list is in order of what I think is the most widely applicable and best hero equipment items, and there's 14 of them, so let's go ahead and get started. Coming in at number 14, we have the Barbarian Puppet. Now this equipment does offer some really nice health regeneration, but the spawned barbarians are hit or miss in my opinion. It also gives a decent hit point increase, but to be honest, I'm not sure if that's what the barbarian requires the most. Overall, it's not a bad piece of equipment, but there are definitely better options. At number 13, we have another puppet, and it's an old one, the Archer Puppet. This ability is classic, but let's be honest, those archers might disappear immediately to a scattershot. There's also a decent DPS increase as well, not to mention the most important thing, which is the instant health regeneration. But even though most players will be using this equipment while they're upgrading their other ones, it still doesn't stand up to some of the newer abilities that we have. At number 12, we have yet another ability, and it's an old one, but don't worry, not all the old ones are bad, but the Life Gem from the Grand Warden is going to go here. Now don't get me wrong, this is an awesome ability. All of your troops are going to get an HP increase, and your Grand Warden gets that as well. However, that's it for the abilities. You still have to generate all of the power yourself, and for some defenses like the single target and the monolith, the higher HP isn't helpful and can even hurt you. Yes, it's a useful ability and a powerful one, but like many of the pieces of equipment on this list, it is just outclassed by some of the other newer equipment. At number 11, we have a community favorite, but a statistical nightmare in my opinion, the Earthquake Boots. First of all, the passive abilities are mild, even at the highest levels, which doesn't help at all. The thing we love is that fact that we can destroy walls though, right? Of course, it's a wonderful ability. But here's the thing, it's rather limited because you can only use it once. Ideally, you use it in the core of the base, but what if your king doesn't make it there? You'd be wasting it if you don't pop it where you need it. However, the 50% is really nice damage for sure, especially since the Town Hall is involved. But once you use this ability, it's done. You don't get much out of the boots for the rest of the attack, except for the HP, which the king has plenty of already. There's one big redeeming quality though, and it's the fact that you can unlock 30% of that total 50% damage by level 6, which is really easy to get to. Once again, it's not a bad piece of equipment, and it's useful in situations, but it's not generally applicable, especially if you know how to funnel your king. At number 10, we have the last of our Puppet Master series, the Healer Puppet. The Healer Puppet is a pretty good piece of equipment for the queen, and it offers a really nice boost to the total hit points of the queen. The really good part of the Healer Puppet though is the self-heal and the healers that are added. Now at max level, the self-heal is nothing to write home about, as it's a mere 35 heal per second, which is half of the unicorn at max level. But the spawning of 3 level 7 healers grants an additional 184 per second, making the effect of this equipment a total of 219 heal per second, which is pretty nice. However, the healer placement is really awkward when they first come out, and it's rather situational, and this is why I don't like this piece of equipment as much. At number 9, we have the second best equipment for the Barbarian King, which is the Rage Vial. Even though it's an old ability, when it comes to value, it gives you a lot. Not only do you get a damage and speed increase, which can be expected, but you also get health regeneration, which is crazy powerful. Even when the queen's ability was split up, the extra damage and the health regen went to 2 different pieces of equipment. For some reason, this isn't the case with the barbarian equipment. Not to mention that the increased speed would allow the barbarian to get more attacks in faster, which would increase this equipment's synergy with the Vamp Stash. Overall, this is a very powerful piece of equipment, and it is not something that you should sleep on. Moving on to the top 8, we have the Royal Gem for the Royal Champion. Yes, sure, the Royal Gem provides a DPS and a hit point increase, but what makes it awesome is the health regeneration that it provides. Percentage wise, it's the best of the regenerative abilities, as it heals half of the HP on the max Royal Champion. This is really useful, especially if you're pairing the champion with the Spirit Fox. It's going to be really hard to kill her for the duration of the attack. Okay, next we have something that I think is going to be a controversial opinion, but I think I have the numbers to back it up, and at number 7 we have the Rage Gem for the Grand Warden. When I first heard about this ability, I was completely shook because I thought this was a dream come true. However, after looking at the stats, I'm not really sure anymore. At maximum level, you have a 50% increase in damage, and damage alone. You do not get additional speed. You do, however, get a very substantial Warden DPS increase, which is really nice. Now, the greatest thing about this equipment is when paired with the Eternal Tome, it literally is a damage doing machine. All you need to do is hit that button, and for the next seconds, you're doing extra damage plus taking no damage. But this dream isn't all that it seems, because it prevents you from using a rage spell unless you want to make your rage gem just a little bit redundant. Furthermore, the rage spell just outclasses the rage gem by a lot by giving you 180% of rage increase versus the 50% that the rage gem gives you, and it gives you no speed increase. On the other hand though, the rage vial lasts the entirety of the attack and the warden has a larger radius. Despite this, even though the rage gem is good, it's situational. Raging up troops to do extra damage when the troops are slow as molasses won't do much for you and will cause you to invest spells anyway. And I'm not saying that the rage gem is bad, it's still a top 7 equipment, it's just not as good as some of the other options. Moving on, at number 6 we have the Seeking Shield for the Royal Champion. I think this is rather self-explanatory. You can basically erase 4 defenses off the map at any time. And even though that doesn't seem like a lot, it does wonders for pathing, and it can get rid of key defenses when you need them to, like a single target Inferno or a Monolith. A classic ability, yes, but a very good one nevertheless. At number 5 we have a personal favorite that is going to be a controversial opinion, yes, but it is the Giant Arrow for the Queen. Now first of all, the reason this isn't any higher on the list is because it's going to take a tremendous amount of skill to use. But let's see at what it can actually do if used correctly. First of all, it not only gives a nice little stat boost, but it also does 1950 damage when it is maxed. And I know most people are gonna say, hey, it's overrated, but hear me out. How much damage does a single lightning spell do? 640 damage. 3 max lightning spells gets you 1920 damage. The Giant Arrow does more than that. But it does this across the entire map, so it's like you're getting tons of lightning spells and just shooting them across the map for no spell space at all. But how much damage is 1950 damage? Let me show you. On top of the wall on the top side of this base is every single dat at max Town Hall 16 level can be completely one-shot by the Giant Arrow. Take a guess at how many buildings there are there. 56 buildings. That means 56% of the base is susceptible to the Giant Arrow projectile. This is insanity. I'll go even a step further and show you that the second row of buildings here are the buildings that you can take out with the Giant Arrow and 1 Earthquake spell. Now the only reason this isn't higher on the list is because it's going to require a lot of skill to use, but it's really good in its base capability, and I can't wait to see what the pros are going to do with it. Moving on to number 4, we have the best king equipment, which is the Vamp Stash. At maximum level, the Vamp Stash gives you 300 healing per hit, but the craziest thing about this is the fact that it also increases attacking speed. This basically makes the Vamp Stash buff itself because it's going to make the king attack faster, which is going to cause it to heal faster. On top of this, if you pair this with a Rage Vial, the synergy is insane because you can do more damage, move faster, attack faster, and heal because of all of it, which is absolutely crazy. Just imagine this, before we used to be able to clear compartments with the Barbarian King, and now you can clear compartments and get healed for clearing that compartment, which is crazy. Undoubtedly, this is the best piece of equipment for the Barbarian King. Okay, now on to the top 3, we have the Healing Tome coming in next. Now this tome is a sleeper giant because it actually is so good. Remember how the Rage Gem does 50% compared to the Rage Spell, which does 180%? Well, the Healing Tome does 150 heal per second compared to the max heal spell's 200 heal per second, but it's actually even better than that. This is because the max heal spell can only heal for a maximum of 2400 hit points, but the Healing Tome has no limit. So if you heal a troop for the entirety of the 25 seconds, you could potentially have 3750 heal. Not only this, but it has a wider radius than the heal spell as well. The only downside to this is that if you pair this with the Eternal Tome, your troops are invincible anyways, so unless they took damage, it's not as useful, so those first 10 seconds become situational. But the remaining 15 seconds are all heal, and then if you use a rage spell on top of this, guys, it's just absolutely insane. You have troops that are being healed, that are invincible, and then on top of that, they're doing 280% of the damage, and they're moving faster. I mean, what else do I have to say? At number 2, we have the best piece of equipment for the Queen, and that is the Invisibility Vial. Not only do you get a blistering DPS increase, but you also get some extra hit points and 7.8 seconds of invisibility at max level. Pair this right after with the Eternal Tome and you have 16 seconds of the Queen not being able to be targeted every attack. Furthermore, because you don't have archers spawning anymore, you could potentially avoid getting splash damage on your Queen as long as the pet isn't too much of a hassle. Overall, this is a very strong piece of equipment, and this is something that you can start upgrading really early, which helps as well. And at number 1, could it really be anything else? The Eternal Tome is going to take its seat on the throne as the number 1 common hero equipment in Clash of Clans. 9.5 seconds of invincibility, of pure chaos for the base, and nullifying any sort of damage output is absolutely insane. And now that you have the Healing Tome or the Rage Gem, if you want to use that as well, I mean, come on, it's really insane what this hero ability can do. And I don't think I need to go in depth about this one at all. Okay, now that we've talked about all of that, what are the priorities? What should you max first? What should you invest into? Let's get into that. First of all, the Eternal Tome, that's the first piece of equipment every player should max. It's simply way too strong. However, if you don't have that unlocked yet, or you're saving some glowy ores for that, start investing into the Invisibility Vial, since a simple hero potion can get you a very strong Queen ability that can do tons of damage in a few seconds. After that, the Healing Tome, which is insanely powerful as I've already described and benefits your entire army. The Vamp Stash would be the next choice so you can start getting power on the Barbarian King, and then I would actually do the Seeking Shield before doing the Giant Arrow, because the Seeking Shield can get you more consistent value and will help bring your RC to relevancy. After that, I would actually focus on Synergy, and Synergy is a whole nother topic, so I'll make another video on Synergy later, but just focus on those pieces of equipment for right now. But this entire ranking will do nothing for you if you don't know the ins and outs of equipment and ores and how to upgrade faster and how to get more of them. That's why you need to watch this playlist right here, which literally gives you the details and the math behind every single piece of equipment and the ores and how to maximize everything in your game.